Hello everyone, welcome to the monthly current affairs series of Amrita IAS, and we're discussing the environment and ecology. So today in today's session we'll talk about the flora and fauna, and then we'll talk about some tribes that were in the news for the past 2 to 3 months. Now tribes, obviously each and every month covering the tribes in the news is not advisable. So last 2 to 3 months some tribes have been in the news that we will discuss. One exclusion today, that is we are not discussing the 5 questions, and we will include those questions maybe next month, but we will make sure that we include those questions of ecology somewhere. We'll accommodate it. Let's start now, starting with this thing. So one thing I promised you when we started our sessions from August 2020, that this big picture stuff will be coming, and I'll make sure that after 2 to 3 months current affair is covered, I'll try to show you the big picture or the framework, which is very very important for revisions. Now in the August month itself, if you have seen August month ecology videos, then we have discussed all these animals and all these animals, and you need to, and we have seen Asiatic cheetah critically endangered, within the endangered Norcondom hornbill, Asian wild dog, musk deer, Asian elephant, within the vulnerable great hornbill, African cheetah, snow leopard, and African elephant. So one way you'll read, for example, from elephant, okay, these are the two type of elephant. Today also we'll see it, and then some list like this should will also help you a lot to prepare accordingly and to revise, especially at the fag end of your preparation. Starting with the today, that is first is Thumbi Mahotsav. So more importantly, this Mahotsav is a part of a national dragonfly festival. So the idea is to make people aware about the role the dragonflies play in the environment. The questions you can expect, the question you can expect, first of all, a very factual question you can expect on the Thumbi Mahotsavam itself, that this why this festival is there and what is the main attraction of this festival. And then the question can be there on the dragonflies itself. So they are the predators, they help control the population of the harmful insects, they feed on the mosquitoes eggs and the larvae, they survive in the clean water, assuring the purity of the water body and lake. And that is why this festival started in 2018 to educate and inform the public about the integral role of the dragonflies and their role in the environment. Okay, so it's been organized by WWF World Wildlife Fund India, Bombay Natural History Society, National Biodiversity Board, UNEP, UNDP, IUCN, and National Indian Dragonfly Society. So for each fact, you should know that what kind of questions you expect, and that gives more basically authenticity to that fact also, and also give you a source that how to prepare this particular fact. So in this fact, question can be asked on directly the festival itself, in which state it is organized. So it's organized in the Kerala, right? And then something about the dragonfly. Next, talk about the Komodo dragon. So Komodo dragon was in the news that it could become extinct. Now it's a big, heaviest lizard in the world, largest and the heaviest lizard on the earth. Currently, its IUCN status is vulnerable, but it's going towards the endangered, critically endangered, and as the news says, could become extinct in the few decades because of the climate change. So in the within the sites, it's in the appendix 1. Key points: it's venom gland loaded with a toxin which secretes anticoagulant. Means if the venom gets to you and if some cut is there, your blood will not clot, so you will die because of the uh, bleeding, and the clotting ability of the blood will not work because of the chemical which its venom contain. Komodo, basically it's found in the Komodo island itself, and which is there in the Indonesia. Okay, so they thrive in the harsh climate of the Sunda's Lesser Sunda Island for millions of the years. Komodo National Park, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is situated in the island of Komodo. That is the location. So importantly, what can questions can be asked? So Komodo dragon question can be asked, that what it is, why it's in the news. So dragon has, so it can, they can say it's a flower or it's a something like that. No, but it is a heaviest lizard found not in India but in Indonesia, like that. And more importantly, because it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and because of the climate change it is happening, that gives it more importance for us. Next is Kalinga frog in Western Ghat. Not very important. It's not really important for our preparation, but it's in the news because previously they have been found more in the Eastern Ghats. and recently they have been found in the Western Ghats. And the scientists have found that is morphological phenotypic plasticity. So what is this morphological phenotypic plasticity? It's nothing but the organism's ability to show drastic morphological variations in response to the natural climate. So the question can be on this thing only, MPP. It is in the news. What do you mean by it? So it is the ability of an organization to show drastic morphological variation, physical feature may variation. So earlier they were thought that they are found only in the Eastern Ghats, now also found on the Western Ghats. So the question can be Kalinga frog, part of Eastern Ghat, Western Ghat, like that. But the overall importance of this fact is relatively less. Next is Sloth Bear and Nandakanan Zoological Park. Nandakanan Zoological Park is a very famous park, one of the zoos in the India, because it's the only zoological park. It's situated in Bhubaneswar, so nothing to show about the location in Odisha. So it's a zoological park, became only zoological park, the institutional member of World Association of Zoos and Aquarium. And the sloth bear is the vulnerable IUCN status. Okay? So it was in the news, two sloth bears have died and in this particular zoo. So zoo itself is important. Sloth bear as a animal species, that is important as well. So what is your work actually? After the end of the session, update that chart which I have shown you in the first. I will try to update that chart after each and every month. For example, when in the next month we'll start the ecology sessions, or then we will update. I will update those chart. Right. Next is institutionalization or snake handlers. From the name itself, that means those who handle the snake, they will be institutionalized. Some policy will be there, some design, some plans will be there. So more importantly, which state has come up with it? That is Kerala. So Kerala is the first state to do this snake handler. That means the snakes, if they are found in their in near to home or somewhere over there, they will have these people, that is snake handler. They will be released in the wild. If it's a non-native species, it will be given to the forest department. So that's the idea. Launched by the Kerala Forest Department for rescuing snakes from the human-dominated places and release them in an inhabited area rather than killing them. Okay, because snake bites outside the forest area accounted for most of the deaths, because of the human animal space issues. Now all this information is given, just read it once, not very important. All this information is not relevant for UPSC, that snake handlers will age between 21 to 65 will be given this mandatory training and everything, certification, nothing important for us. Next is a report on the leopard sighting. So two news are there with respect to leopard. So global tiger census, a part of a global tiger census, Wildlife Institute of India has released the dedicated report on the leopard sighting. As compared to the tigers, there is no separate census for the leopards per se, right? But the tiger survey also try to estimate the because of the pug marks. They also try to see the numbers of the other species, but the major focus is on the tigers only. So yes, it's a good thing. Just like tigers, the numbers of the leopards have also increased. It's a testimony of India's conservation efforts. So from in 2014 to 2018, there have been a lot of more than 60% increase in the numbers of the leopards. So it's a good thing. Most recorded has been seen in the MP. So these are the few things that you can remember: MP, then Karnataka, then Maharashtra. Because they are a bit sometimes with respect to animal, they ask very peripheral questions, है ना? So let's be prepared with those ideas. Even if they don't ask the question directly, one of the, just like the question they have asked this time about the elephants, है ना? So they can be asked question. If leopard question will be there, at least you will be eliminate 1 to 2 options out of the given options. One more study was there. Traffic has released a paper called Spotted. So basically the idea is there that they are tracking the illegal trade of the leopards, how the poaching has been done. So they have said that in Uttarakhand and the Maharashtra, highest leopard poaching is there in India, right? In India, leopard is a vulnerable. If within the vulnerable IUCN stated, they come. Okay, chalo. So traffic is basically, I want to discuss it again. I'll discuss it again because it's a very important institution, but let's for the reference. So traffic was created in 1976 with the efforts of the two organizations, that is WWF and IUCN. Idea is that non-governmental organization monitor globally on the trade of wild animal and the plants in the context of biodiversity and the sustainable development. So traffic of the wild animal and the illegal, basically, uh, illegal traffic and all these things. Next, in the places in news, we have talked about Okavango Delta in the country which is Botswana. Now, they have been discussed because the mysterious deaths of the thousands of the African elephants have been found there, right? So let's discuss something about the African elephant. So African elephant is in the vulnerable community commodity. It is the largest animal walking on the earth, very huge, right? So African elephants can be found in Botswana, Namibia, South Africa, Zimbabwe. Appendix 2, which includes a species is not necessarily threatened with extinction, but trade must be controlled. So they are not threatened, just like the Indian elephant, but they are vulnerable. Now, last time we have discussed in detail, we were discussing the this year UPSC question, UPSC 2020 question on elephants. We were discussing about the difference between the Asian and the African elephant, right? So, Asian elephant, we have seen that it's endangered in India under Wildlife Protection 1, and the size also you can see, size of Asian and the African one is a huge, relatively large. Now within the Africa, there's some things extra. So Asian Africans, we have discussed, they're smaller than the African cousins, and their ears are also smaller. Some male, only some male in the Asian elephants have tusk, while both male and female have grow tusk. So tusk is there in both male and female in the African, but in Asian only in the male. Then within the African tigers, there are two sub varieties, not important for us, just to know that there is a savanna type of variety, savanna or a bush elephant, and second is a forest elephant. So nothing important. The more importantly, the distinction between Asian and the African elephant. In any case, they have asked elephant, so they won't ask elephant again. So don't worry. Now the issue is why the elephants have been dying. They have been alleged that because of them cyanobacteria, toxic cyanobacteria, these are dying. So what is this cyanobacteria? Cyanobacteria is nothing but the blue green algae. They are the single-celled microscopic organism found in the soils and all water. If you remember, last session we talked about lichens. So that's a combination of fungi and algae. So that similar algae is there. So this algae, this cyanobacteria that is fresh, they live in fresh, brackish and the marine water. They need sunlight to make their own food. So they make their own food. They multiply quickly when the nutrition rich water they get. Okay, so this we will discuss. That causes also the algal boom, or that is also known as the red tide. Similar words used for the same thing. What about this toxic blue green algae? So because of which the elephants have died. So not all the blue green algae or cyanobacteria are toxic. They toxic thrives in the slow and the slow move, warm and the slow moving water, right? They require carbon dioxide to survive, and high level of carbon dioxide in the air and water can lead to the rapid growth, especially the toxic blue algae that can float to the surface of the water. So after drinking that water, because as this toxic neurotoxic or substance that damage, destroys, impair the functioning of the neural tissue. So because of which these elephants were dying. It is being researched. This blue green algae is really helpful. It's been used in the medicinal plants for vitamins, nutrients, and minerals. Helps control immune system, naturally fertilize the field and rice paddy. Also, some of them also convert this atmospheric nitrogen into some usable form, nitrate or ammonia, and also the food and medicinal purpose and all these things, right? So cyanobacteria is an important topic for your prelims, है ना? आ सकता है, this point can come. Now this algal bloom, why this happens? Why, when you have a lot of water entering into a water stream, river, lake, or anywhere, and it is very nutrient rich. Now why it will be nutrient rich? Because, for example, a lot of fertilizer has been applied to the agricultural field because of the runoff, or the industry effluents have been released into this without treatment. And for example, urban life, some sewage and the wastewater runoff containing a lot of nutrients gets into the river, streams, lakes, and everything. That creates a lot of problem, and this is known as the causes of the algal booms. This is also known as the red tide. So remember that. When this happen, we have discussed, or we will discuss somewhere, what happens, that is the a lot of fishes die, because they take up all the dissolved oxygen from the water, and fishes later on do not get that water, so it causes a lot of dead zones into the area. Now, dead zones are now found near to Bay of Bengal, Gulf of Mexico, and many places. In fact, that is one of the very severe causes for the decline of the biodiversity. So this is there for all the flora and fauna today, and then we'll discuss about some tribes. First tribe is, that is not Indian tribe, that is Yanomami people and blood gold. You just need to remember what kind of question you can expect on with respect to tribes, especially the international tribes. Nothing specific from which country they belong to and why they are in the news. That's it. Nothing. Don't go too much into deep of it. So this Yanomami people are belonging to northern Brazil, northern South America. These are the people who are termed as the most isolated tribe in the South America. Now, the places where they live, a lot of gold is found. So the outsiders go to their places, kill these people or put these people into bonded labor and mine a lot of gold. So all the resources which these people like, for example, their forest resources, they cut all their forested and mine a lot of gold. And gold, the craze of the gold, not only in India, we all know so much import of the gold happens. So these Yanomami people live in the rainforest and the mountains of the northern Brazil and southern Venezuela. According to the Survival International, the largest relative isolated tribe in the southern America. Since 1980s, Yanomami tribe has been facing an onslaught from the illegal gold miners. Okay, so these are the gold rush and the genocide which is there. So during the 1980s, Yanomami suffered immensely when these Brazilian gold miners have come and all these things. So recently they have made one video, YouTube video, and appealed to the people, and they have appealed to the Indian government also. So don't buy this gold because they call it a blood gold. Few years back, there was also a term known as the blood diamond. So blood diamond was also based upon that idea that the where the extraction of the diamond is happening, the diamond that people are wearing, those diamonds are coming from the area where a lot of conflict is there. Those diamonds are, for example, done by the bonded labor. The people from where this diamond have been taken, they have not been compensated. They are not the part of the process. Only big international organization MNCs are digging their places and extracting the resources for their selfish purposes and at the expense of these people. So this blood gold, that is why I just noticed the blood gold or the blood diamond. So the question you can expect, what do you mean by the blood gold? So it can come, it is a like a red gold or something like that. No, it's a gold where the gold has been found because of the exploitation of these people. Okay, chalo. Next tribe, that is Bonda tribe. So Bonda tribe is one of the PVGTs, that is particularly vulnerable tribal groups of the Odisha. Somewhere in the future, we'll discuss in detail about the PVGTs. What are these PVGTs? So 13 PVGTs are found in Odisha. Okay? And they are the very important PVGTs of Odisha. Some of the details that you need to know: in the Malkangiri district, they are the first wave of the migration out of the Africa. They are an Austro-Asiatic tribes. They believe to be the part of the first wave migration of Africa about 60,000 years ago. First forest settler in India. It's a matriarchal society. First forest settlers and language is Remo. So these are the few details that you need to know. Not Remo per se, but forest settler, matriarchal society, and in which state they are in. So within the state of Odisha, the southern part of Odisha, you can see this part: Koraput, Malkangiri, Bonda tribe, Fulmani, Nawargarpur, and all these places, Koraput. There, all the PVGTs have been found. The tribal population are found in the entire 7 districts of Khandamal, Mayurbhanj, Sundargarh, Nabarnpur, Koraput, Malkangiri, and Rayagad. Don't have to remember these names, but just to have an idea that within Odisha, where are the places where the most tribal population is present, like that. Okay? Apart from that, other tribal tribes you didn't, for example, Bonda, we have discussed. Other tribes, if they're in the news, we will discuss. Other than that, just read the name once. That's all. For example, Saura tribe sometimes remains in the news. So like that. Chalo. Next is Kurumba tribe. So two tribes that we'll discuss today, three types in fact. They are the part of the same initiative that we have discussed last month. That is Namat Basai, a program in which these people were given some sort of electronic help or computer help or in their own vernacular language, in their own native language. So this tribe, all the three tribes belongs primarily in the Kerala. So Kurumba tribes from Nilgiri, popularly known as the Maya Pulayana, Hill Pulayanas, and Pamba Pulayana. Traditional occupation is foraging and shifting cultivation. They live by collecting the forest produce such as honey, wax, soap nut, and all these things. Body tattooing is important part. And the religion is animism and totemism. What is this? Animism is a belief in the spirituality of object, places, and creatures. And totemism, that is worship of any species of plant or animal thought to possess the supernatural power. So these are the beliefs of the tribals, right? Chalo. Next is the Mudugar and the Mukunda tribe in this place near to the Tri Junction and the Nilgiris. So they worship Hinduism and worship Shiva, social division, food gatherers, hunters. What are the important things there? Any tribe comes, what you need to remember if they are in the news, just the place they belong to. And if anything very specific to them, then that's more important. For example, Bonda tribe is more important than these tribes that we are discussing. Then is Irula tribe. Irula tribe, that is the occupation is agriculturalist, majority worship Vishnu under the name of Rangaswamy Shiva without differentiation. They practice animism and the worship of the tiger. So worship of the tiger, Irula tribe. In fact, a lot of Irula tribe people are also there in the tiger reserve. So many tiger reserves are there in the south, right? So they a lot of people serve in those tiger reserve because they have been born and brought up in that atmosphere, so they are not afraid too much of these tigers. So found in the Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Karnataka. Okay? So 5 tribes that we have discussed. So with this we bring an end to our session. I know it's a small session, we have missed out on the 5 questions. We will discuss those 5 questions. There are some reasons that we have not discussed the 5 questions in this session or the coming 3 sessions more at the end of the September month. But we'll continue this for sure from our October month, and we'll compensate for these 5 questions later on. Don't worry. So with this, we finish our session. See you all in the next session. Bye bye for now.